Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I'm joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Robeck. And today we are going over our wide receiver tiers, fears, sleepers, a lot of players we hate as well. A lot of teams that I hate. But yeah, receiver, it is really deep this year. But then it gets super not deep really quickly. So we're going to go through all those favorite players. We also are going to hit some news. And more importantly, we have an email at the end, a low-stakes conspiracy theory about a zoo, which All-timer. Is definitely right.
Please wait around for the end of this episode. Even skip ahead. Like, it's fine. I just want you to hear Andrew's email about his low-stakes conspiracy about this zoo in New Jersey. It's all time. We're on board with it. Check that out. We might even go to New Jersey when we're in New York, which we will be in 2 weeks for a live show on August 19th.
We're dead. It's such a good email. We're actually going to make this drive to this city. We're really thinking about it. Okay, so let's get to receivers. But first, let's take a quick break. This episode of the Ringer Fantasy Football Show is presented by Hyundai. Get into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event and get away with a deal so right it almost feels wrong. You can get huge savings on their adventure-ready SUVs like the Hyundai Santa Fe and Santa Fe Hybrid models. Or go all-electric and choose from America's most awarded EV lineup like the Breakthrough, Ioniq 5, or Ioniq 6. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for details. Offers end September 2nd, 2025. Okay, some quick news before we get to receiver tiers. Just want to hit some receiver news. Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings officially suspended by the NFL for the first 3 games of the season. We kind of knew this would happen because Jordan Addison, once again, pled no contest to Wet Reckless.
That sounds like a 90s comedy, an action comedy.
Wet That's the next rewatchables is Wet Reckless.
Craig, that's what they called you in high school, I thought.
That's right. They did.
Wet Reckless. So,
he fell asleep on the freeway in a lane.
Yeah, not great.
Not a great look.
Not ideal. I still can't believe Jordan Addison, who makes millions of dollars a year, was fined $390.
Right.
I think the 390 is such a funny term. Anyway, so Jordan Addison missed the first 3 games of the year. I feel like we kind of already moved him down. We'll talk about him later in this, but like we kind of knew this was coming. The other news, Chargers signed Keenan Allen, which when I first saw this rumor, I was like, well, that's not going to happen. But they did it. So getting the gang back together, Keenan Allen signed a 1-year deal. I think the money that's been reported is like fake, so I'm not even going to read it. But this comes after the Chargers also tried to bring back Mike Williams, who obviously also played for the Chargers for a long time. And then Mike Williams retired. He just kind of showed up to camp and was like the game ain't in me no more. So Mike Williams retired. Keenan Allen's there. I kind of thought at first that this was actually just concerning. It's like Ladd McConkey hasn't practiced in a week and he's off to the side. They haven't disclosed what it is. I checked in with some people there. They were like, no, it's fine. He's like moving around. I'm like, okay, so I guess Keenan Allen's, is he going to play? I don't know, DK. Like, do you think Keenan Allen's going to play for the Chargers when they already have Quentin Johnson? They have a lot of young receivers there. They have Jalen Reagor, who, yikes, but.
I do think he's going to play. I don't think Keenan Allen is like that far gone in terms of being washed or whatever. He still can, make plays in the short and intermediate area. He's always been really good at getting open, great hands, all that. My concern, so if you look at the rest of the depth chart, Trey Harris, the rookie, hasn't done a whole lot, I don't think, from what I've seen at camp. I mean, it's not like he's been bad, but he hasn't necessarily shined. The other guy,
he's a second-round pick. He was a high pick.
Yeah, second-round pick. And their 5th-round pick, Keandre Lambert-Smith, is the guy that's been kind of making waves. He had a couple of big plays in their Hall of Fame game, including a touchdown, I believe. And I don't know, he's just looked pretty good. So I think right now the depth chart is definitely in flux, but if you look at it overall, Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Quentin Johnston, Darius Davis, Jalen Reagor, Brendan Rice, it's a bunch of guys that have absolutely, we cannot trust whatsoever.
So, just Jerry Rice. Brendan Rice.
Brendan Rice, yes.
Just really want to clarify that.
So, yes, I do think Keenan Allen's going to play. I think he's going to be the number 2. The big concern for me right now with Ladd McConkey, I don't think Ladd McConkey is affected dramatically, but if you look at his numbers last year, Ladd played in the slot 66% of the time. And that's kind of where Keenan Allen likes to live. I know that they both can kind of play all over the formation, but I guess the slight worry is maybe Keenan's going to hoover up some of those easier plays in underneath or whatever, and that might hurt Ladd McConkey's
Hoover's good
upside. But what do you guys think about
points out that 3 of the Chargers receivers on the roster went to TCU. That's kind of weird.
Go Frogs.
Quentin Johnson, Jalen Reagor, and Darius Davis all went to TCU. It's kind of strange.
They've all had such amazing careers too. Sorry.
I like when the vet comes back to the old team. I like the vet tutoring the younger guys. Like I even like Cooper Kupp with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I like that. I like Keenan Allen with Ladd McConkey kind of ushering in. It's like, remember when like the third Jurassic Park and the new reboot when like Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern, they all came back. Like, I
actually didn't see that movie, but I did just watch the end of that movie on YouTube because I just kind of wanted to watch what the final dinosaur fight was, and it was nice to see them all together.
The end of the Chris Pratt trilogy,
fight.
that one?
The one where, they were all kind of running together. The original cast, the new cast. So it's I was like, oh, like the big dinosaur. I just wanted to watch this again.
I'm not that worried for Ladd. Ladd's really, really good. They're not going to, I feel like they're not going to sacrifice whatever they want to do with Ladd just because Keenan's there.
We'll get to where we slot Keenan in with our receiver tiers. What you said?
I had a friend who texted me, by the way, that just said half of our shows is just us going, I don't know, just do what you like.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Do what you feel. Go with your gut.
Yeah. I'm like, in my humble expert opinion,
right.
I'm like, Ladd McConkey's one of like the brightest stars of the young receiver crew in the NFL.
Right.
33-year-old Keenan Allen. Like if they just like remove Ladd McConkey from the slot because Keenan Allen's there, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Well, actually, wait, the last thing I just wanted to mention this before we get to all the tiers. The NFL banned smelling salts.
Schmelling schmaltz,
which led to an absolute panic.
Dude, I did not realize how many players depend on and absolutely love smelling salts. Like
all of them.
George Kittle is obsessed with them. Baker Mayfield was recently talking with Kay Adams, and she told him that they're banned smelling salts, and he was like, "Wait, are you serious?" She was like,
freaked out.
He was like, "This is a massive problem. Like, I need something else now." And he's like, "This will dramatically affect my game."
All of them do smelling salts before going on the field, literally whenever. All of them do smelling salts.
And
have you guys ever? I don't know. What's the verb? Smelled them?
Yeah, I've smelled salts.
Have you ever done smelling salts?
No.
Yeah,
I think
we should bring them.
I think Sunday night recaps, we should begin every show by smelling salts.
We honestly should.
Kind of like
all of us do. Anytime anyone intros, just with this, that's actually really funny.
Like all of our late
draft.
All of our late night recordings, we should start by doing smelling salts. Or there's a category called like the like out of my mind award or something, and we just rip a smelling salt and then have to do a category.
Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have an
good.
idea for us on the Sunday night recaps to do the smelling salt.
And so the NFL banned them, but what they really mean is that the NFL cannot provide them anymore.
Yes.
But players can still provide their own. So it's BYO smelling salts now, which to me is worse.
It's so funny. Literally, it sounds like the NFL, they're lying. Well, not lying, but they're kind of like, yeah, medically, it's like blah, blah, blah. Some lawyers said the NFL probably should stop providing smelling salts to players. So they will no longer provide smelling salts before, after, or during the game. Can't have it at sideline, can't have it locker room. And then the NFLPA, the dying husk of the NFLPA, whose players are like in open revolt, the leadership's in chaos and turmoil, is now going to save the NFLPA because the NFLPA clarified with all the players, total red meat issue with your base. And they were like, don't worry, you can bring your own smelling salts to the game, literally. So now I'm sure George Kittle's going to buy like pallets of smelling salts and just store them in his locker, basically.
Do you think there's going to, like, what if George Kittle becomes like the smelling salts, like, seller in the NFL? Dude, like, it'd be interesting if there becomes like an entire underground market of smelling salts.
If these end of roster guys, if they're smart, they want to do some extra cash, just become a salt tycoon,
well,
you know?
I think it's interesting because the NFL, reading some of the reports, it was like the effects of smelling salts can perhaps kind of hide some of the symptoms of a concussion.
You get a concussion, they give you a fucking smelling salt. They're like, go back in the game. That was like that for like 50 years.
Totally. And so they're like, so we're banning smelling salts because, you know, it could potentially mask concussion symptoms. But then they're like,
lawsuits.
You can just bring your own now.
Yeah, I just think there's legal.
I'm reading an article right now about this. In 2005, Michael Strahan estimated 70 to 80% of NFL players were using smelling
Dude, it's not just that.
It's basically pre-workout.
How have I gone this long without trying a smelling salt?
Have you guys ever seen an NFL sideline after the game when the players are gone? Google it. There are photos like the sideline when all the equipment's gone is just husks of smelling salts, like hundreds.
Ian Baker Mayfield was when he was talking to Kat Adams, basically said that he's just going to start taking even more pre-workout now and like drink more coffee. But I don't know.
So it's just supposed to make you more alert, essentially.
It sharpens your senses and, you know, whatnot.
Stinks the nostrils.
It removes it kind of really dulls your conscious brain as you're about to enter a really animalistic, violent
wakes up the primal
tackle.
Yeah.
I just don't know why can't they just ban it? Why are they allowing players to bring their own?
Because the players will revolt. No, that's the thing. If the NFL actually gave a fuck, they'd be like, no one can use these. The NFL, I'm sure, they're like saying, well, there's a medical report, so we're not going to do it. The middle step they're hiding, like the little hide column in an Excel file, is the hide column is lawyers were like, the fact that the FDA has issued this medical advice is a legal liability for us providing it.
We could
blah,
get
blah,
sued
blah, blah,
if
blah.
it's implied that our smelling salts are preventing concussion.
Yeah, I'm sure that lawyers were the middleman in like the NFL's like, we don't care if you do it. We just can't give it to you for free all the time.
Speaking of Jurassic Park, lawyers, huh? The only guy that agrees with me, the blood-sucking lawyer.
Literally perfect. So smelling salts. Yeah, we should. I'll order some on Amazon first, but we should have them at the draft. And yeah, we'll do them on Sundays. That's a good idea. Okay, let's get to wide receiver tiers. I want to start. And again, the point of tiers, we go through this, is just a great mechanism. When you're drafting, it's better than rankings to have an idea of which players are in the same bucket. So we're not necessarily going to nail our rankings. Our larger goals, we really want to get the buckets of receivers next to each other correct. We want you, as you're going, to be in the same range, and you want to feel free to rank the guys within the tiers however you want. But we really want to get the buckets of players and their potential ranges of outcomes correct. So we're going to go through all of them. Before we do that, I just want to say, do you guys have a general strategy at receiver this year? I have two strong thoughts, but DK, do you have any big picture thoughts going in? I want to just beginning it and then at the end of this episode, if you change your mind. But do you have any big picture thoughts on the receiver position going into the year?
I don't think specifically, no. I mean, obviously, we talked about this with running backs. It's like you want to have a clear-cut wide receiver one. You don't want to go in and have a bunch of wide receiver twos on your team. I feel like that kind of really limits your upside week in and week out. So I'd say that. But in terms of like specific players, or I don't have a specific strategy, I don't think, this year. There's just a bunch of guys that I really like.
I got a strat.
What do you got?
Hit me.
Stars and scrubs with receivers. I want the first 10 to 12 guys. I like all of them. Like, I actually think I can get to 15 that
Double
I like.
up on them.
The top 15. Then I kind of want to skip, I think, the next middle rounds. And then I want to basically just gobble up rookies.
I like that, actually.
I mostly agree with that. I agree with Craig. I think the eliteness, how far I would consider receivers elite, I feel so much more confident in the top like dozen receivers. I can't believe how confident I feel in the top 15 guys where I'm like, oh my God, all these guys.
I like all of them. You could give me any one of them and I don't really care. I'm like, oh, AJ Brown, Puka, Nacua, Brian Thomas, all of them are good to me.
I feel so fine starting receiver. And I usually feel a little nervous about that without a top running back. I feel fine about it this year because there's so many legendary guys. I will say this. I want to commit Seppuku if I don't get like 5 receivers in the top 50 or 50 receivers, like 60. That? Like, yeah, Seppuku is
Seppuku.
Seppuku.
Seppuku. Seppuku Nacua.
Did you watch Shogun?
Yeah, I watched Shogun.
Seppuku, I think.
Seppuku.
I'm sure we're all fucking it up, let's be honest.
Seppuku.
Yeah.
Our American accents always put the accent on the middle.
Yeah, I will stick a katana in my fucking intestines and rip them out if I have to play Keon Coleman for the Bills.
There we go.
I think that there's a line, and it's somewhere around the 55th receiver where like it is like a cliff, and it's not really, but it's weird because I think 20 to like 35 is like they're all kind of the same, but then oh my God, there's a point where you have to spend real capital in your draft, and it's like vaguely 120th overall. And at that point, I want quarterbacks and backup running backs with upside, tight ends, and I'm like, if I am having to draft more than a receiver or two that I particularly like at that point, if I have to play these guys, like I do not want to get my 4th receiver 120th overall. Like if your first 10 picks, I guess more or less, I kind of need 5 of them to be receivers, and then the other 5 have to be quarterback, tight end, 3 running backs, or more running backs you want. But like I need 5 receivers in the first 10 picks.
Yeah, I kind of think with wide receivers, and I never really do this in drafts, and I think it's because you're just spending so much money on them. But with receivers, you kind of can't go broke making a profit. Every year, there's always the guy in your league who just says like screw it, and he'll draft like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson and Mike Evans, and he spent like 70% of his budget on that, and you're like, that looks incredible. You have 3 Ferraris in the garage. And every week, that guy's terrifying to play. Wide receivers traditionally healthier than every other position. Last year, it wasn't that way, which is why there might be a bit of a pendulum swing with people being excited about running backs, as running backs were kind of uncharacteristically healthy last year. Wide receivers were not. Mm-hmm. So, but in general, when you just go get like 2 stud wide receivers and you get a stud quarterback, the floor of your team on a weekly basis is just so high. I mean, it is rare that guys like Nico Collins and Justin Jefferson have bad weeks. And so I think this year, I'm just going to try to get a couple elite wide receivers.
The last caveat I'll say for this conversation, the context is I can't stress enough how much the difference is between if your starting base roster requires 2 starting receivers or 3 receivers each week.
Right.
It is such a larger difference in rankings than half PPR versus full PPR versus even 0 PPR. Like literally it's adding 50%. If all prices are supply and demand, it is literally adding 50% more demand to how much you have to start. So again, a 12-team league is probably, including flex, is probably going to, if with 3 receivers, is going to start like 40 plus receivers every week. And a 10-team league with the 2 receiver spots is starting almost half. You know, like it's a huge difference. And so the point being, in a 10-team league where you start 2 receivers, you can do it. You could start Darnell Mooney and Juwan Jennings every week, and you're probably fine. But like in a 3-team league, like Puka Nacua is so much more valuable in that 12-team league that has 3 receivers. So just keep that in mind. Like there are so many receivers you can wait on the position if you have a 2-team league, but you really don't want to wait in the position to start 3. So that's the keep that in mind with your leagues as we go through this conversation. But let's just get to it. I'm going to go through my tiers here. You guys can tweak them. Like basically, we're going to try to agree on tiers here. Yeah. Starting with, I put tier 1, which it was hard to do at the top, and I kind of settled on just 2 guys. Jamar Chase for the Bengals and CeeDee Lamb with the Cowboys. Maybe that's a little controversial, but I was like, you know what? These are the elite, undisputed, real-life receivers who honestly I have no questions. I have no questions about these guys.
It's the combination of their elite players plus they're with very good, prolific passing quarterbacks, right?
They've been with their quarterbacks for years.
They have zero. I have 0 questions about them.
Right. Yeah. I think obviously the only question here is do you include Justin Jefferson? But I think like with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, elite connection. They go back to college, you know, like they've been playing with each other for years. No questions there in terms of the volume of the offense. I think the same could be said with Dallas. Like it feels like this is going to be a high volume passing game with Dallas. Dak obviously has great chemistry with CeeDee. I think the only question, and it's a very small one, is what does Pickens' arrival kind of do for CeeDee Lamb's overall upside? But I still think, you know, looking at the history of what CeeDee Lamb has done, I actually looked up the last 3 seasons. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb are the clear-cut wide receiver royalty in terms of the last 3 seasons, all right around 16 points per game and half PPR. Lamb and Chase, obviously this year I think have a little bit higher upside, but if you go back that 3 years, there's only 5 players that have averaged 10 plus targets a game. One of those is Nabers, and he doesn't really count because he only had 1 season. It's Davante Adams, Chase, Lamb, and Jefferson. Those guys have all averaged 10 targets a game, 10 plus targets a game in the last 3 years. So it's like Jefferson, the only thing is just like, what is McCarthy going to be?
His quarterbacks never played in the NFL, and I think that's the thing with the tier. It's like, would you really, if Vikings fans get mad, and look, obviously in real life, Justin Jefferson is a real life receiver, is just as good, maybe better than Jamar Chase. What is the argument to take Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase? I don't think there is one, just because Justin Jefferson's quarterbacks literally never played in the NFL. Maybe JJ McCarthy takes in the Super Bowl. He could also suck. Yeah. And that would be really, like, he could suck. And
or
the difference
get hurt
is,
again.
Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow will, if they're on the field, they won't suck. I know that.
And that's the thing. The other part of the reason I think these are the top 2 guys in their own tier, Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, and I wouldn't take another receiver, even Justin Jefferson, over these 2, is the Cowboys and Bengals at this moment in time are the favorites to lead the NFL in passing attempts. The Cowboys offense is not running through the running game. That's why they settled for Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. It is Dak Prescott. The passing is the core of the Cowboys offense. Obviously, the Bengals are the same thing. Both defenses, I think, are going to suck again. I don't think the Cowboys can stop the run. The Bengals defense is not very good. And these probably going to lead the league in pass attempts. In the same way, we're like, is George Pickens as good as T. Higgins? No. Well, guess what? On the Bengals last year, Jamar Chase, they had T. Higgins there, and Jamar Chase literally had the triple crown. He had the most catches, yards, and touchdowns at the position, even though T. Higgins was there for most of the season. And so, to me, even if Pickens is great, it's like, well, if Dak Prescott's leading the league in attempts, it's not going to matter.
No.
Like, CeeDee Lamb's going to, you know.
It might even help CeeDee. I mean, CeeDee only had 6 touchdowns last year. You know, maybe it'll open things up. Let's double cover.
Yeah. Dak was a runner-up for the MVP 2 years ago. I feel like people kind of forget that. You know what I mean?
Craig always says he should have won. I'm like,
I think he should have won.
No.
Man, I'm just looking at the stats again. Joe Burrow almost threw for 5,000 yards.
5,000 yards.
43 touchdowns. Man, it's
Can you believe Craig was worried about Joe Burrow's wrist last year?
Can you believe it?
That's crazy.
I'm even more
about
worried
a
this
fucking
year.
water bottle.
Anyway, so Jamar Chase is, and also can I just give this is horrible analysis, but I did want to just note it.
Okay.
I like this.
So Jamar Chase is the consensus number 1 overall player, which I think we have to just mention before we go on. Like, it's Jamar Chase is our number one player. ESPN, Yahoo, Fantasy Life, Established the Run, Fantasy Points, PFF. Everywhere is Jamar Chase at the number one. And mostly, for the most part, the industry basically agrees on the number one player every year. Last year, we actually moved McCaffrey off. Everyone else had McCaffrey.
I know where you're going. This is the fantasy Madden cover, essentially.
Yes, and I will just say, this is not analysis, but it's more just interesting to me. The number one consensus fantasy player has not played 11 games in like 6 years. Or 12 games.
Why
is
that?
3 months. They have missed the number one player has missed a month for 6 straight seasons, which is not like actual now. It's just funny to me that everyone in the world is like, take this guy first, and that player has always missed a month, if not more. So just worth noting that, you can just another thing, as Craig was saying, take whoever you want, because like, you know what I mean?
Just go with your gut.
It's been 7 years since the number one guy actually you wish you had taken him.
Maybe that's a good sign for Saquon that he's not the consensus number one.
Yeah,
maybe
there you go.
He'll be healthy.
Yeah. So anyway, so Chase and CeeDee Lamb are the top tier. The next tier is basically guys that are also incredible, but there's like a question about them. Justin Jefferson for the Vikings, who's just as good as Lamb and Chase, but it's like, well, his quarterback's never played in the NFL. Then we have Nico Collins for the Texans, where it's like, well, they house their entire offensive line, and we also don't know who's going to be the running back, which is like a little concerning. Puka Nacua, who I actually could argue, I think Puka Nacua has a chance maybe at the Triple Crown this year himself, but Stafford, his quarterback's getting epidurals, which is usually a sentence you hear with pregnant women. So it's like, that's a little concerning. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has an entirely new, like basically the offensive coaching staff's different, and then the offensive line is much worse in Detroit. And then Malik Nabers, who his quarterback is Russell Wilson, and then maybe a rookie Jaxon Dart. So that's the next tier. All of them incredibly talented, all incredibly productive, and there's just one giant about them.
It's a little bit bleak is not the right word, because obviously these are all very good players. But man, it sucks to have so many of these elite receivers with like major question marks in the offense. I'm still a little like, I love Nico. I'm still a little bit worried about like what the Texans are going to be if Stroud can kind of bounce back. I believe in Stroud. I think he's a very good quarterback, but you mentioned it. They basically remade their offensive line this year. We don't really know what this new offensive coordinator is going to bring.
Nick Caley, who came from the Rams.
Right. And then with Puka, I was actually looking at this the other day. This is kind of an aside and a tangent. I want to say Davante Adams, right now, Puka is 16-1 offensive player of the year, and Davante Adams is 100-1. Just putting it out there.
Look
Just
at you
throwing it
dabbling
out
on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So you're saying Puka Nacua out week 1, and then you have Davante Adams.
Davante Adams, 100-1, baby. Or at least he was when I looked a few days ago.
I don't hate. I kind of get that.
I think this tier should be expanded. So you have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys you mentioned. In your next tier, you just have 4 more guys, which is
I have Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jags, Drake London for the Falcons, AJ Brown for the Eagles, Ladd McConkey for the Chargers. I'm fine to merge them.
I think it should be expanded. If you look at, I think all of these guys have somewhat similar chances of being like the overall wide receiver one. If you look at what they did last year, they're all within like a point of each other. Brian Thomas was like a top 5 receiver to close the year with Mac Jones. Drake London was the number 1 overall wide receiver with Michael Penix in those 3 games. AJ Brown on Philly, we've seen him do it many seasons. I think the Eagles are going to throw a lot more this year. And then like just with what Ladd's doing with the Chargers, I think he should be included as well. I would even venture to say, and where I really want to linger on is, you don't have Tyreek Hill in that tier. You have Tyreek Hill in tier 4.
Tyreek Hill was the last guy. I moved him up. I moved him down. I moved him up. I moved him down. I'm totally fine to put Tyreek Hill in the tier.
I think this should be a giant tier 2 with the 5 guys you mentioned, adding Brian Thomas, Drake London, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, and Tyreek Hill. It's
fine. I'm fine. The reason I had Amon-Ra, Nabers, Puka, Collins, and Jefferson in the first tier, I was like, if I actually stick to what I'm saying about what the tiers are of like. And I guess it's squishy sometimes where I'm like, I don't care how the order you rank them. And I'm like, these guys are guys you could take 6th in the first round, 6 overall. And I'm fine with it. And I'm like, I'm not going to take Ladd McConkey 6th. However, sometimes it's squishy. It's more like, it's also, I wouldn't be shocked if any of these guys, to your point, beat any of the other ones. Like, zero surprise.
No, like
to that point, that's fine.
AJ Brown beats Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Drake London beats Puka Nacua.
And the point, more importantly, the point being the top, if you get 2 of these guys, you're like walking on, you feel like you're invincible, right?
If you go to Tyreek Hill, I think is it 12 or 13 guys? To me, 2 of those 13 is the goal in my draft this year.
How do you feel about that being one big tier, DK? Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Puka, Amon-Ra, Malik Nabers, Brian Thomas, Drake London, AJ Brown, McConkey, and Tyreek Hill being one giant tier.
I don't mind it. Where I would quibble and where I would probably personally draw the line is at AJ Brown, and then Ladd McConkey and Tyreek would be down a tier. I don't really know if I see them in the same tier as like AJ Brown, Drake London, Brian Thomas, etc., Malik Nabers, all those guys. But it's a small quibble, and that's just like how I would do it personally. If you look at our ranks, that's kind of what it looks like. Although I guess Ladd is only a couple behind AJ Brown, but then you have a kind of a big drop for Tyreek Hill.
So you're saying AJ Brown belongs in that elite tier, and then McConkey's a step below, or you? Okay.
I think, yeah, and I think if you kind of take a look at that list, to me, any one of those guys ending up as the overall wide receiver 1 this year wouldn't be a huge surprise. I would be pretty surprised if Ladd McConkey is the overall wide receiver 1. So maybe that's just like one way of doing it. Again, it's just a quibble. It's not really, I don't feel super strongly, but
that's fine. I would actually make the case for Tyreek Hill belonging in this category, maybe over Ladd. I want to linger on Tyreek for a second because I think he's one of the more interesting fantasy players this year. So based on the rankings, it's kind of, I think you could make the assumption that a lot of people think Tyreek is over the hill.
He's washed.
Yes.
You're so much better than that.
I know.
Over the hill.
Right there.
Good one.
But
nailed it.
Last year was a mess for Miami. Tua missed 6 games with the concussion stuff. Tyreek Hill also hurt his wrist in August last year and played the entire season with it. He had a ligament
claimed it
wrist
was
injury.
From getting handcuffed. Remember that?
He got wrist surgery, and he said that, and again, just a reminder, Tyreek Hill was like detained by police on the way to week 1. And he said that the handcuffing made his wrist surgery recovery worse.
He injured it in a joint practice against Washington in August last year. But so he's had 2 surgeries this offseason. But Tyreek Hill's 31 years old. He in a Derrick Henry sense, like to me, he's one of the most freak athletes we've seen in a long time. The year before last year, he was the number 1 overall wide receiver. He had 1,800 yards. The year before that, he had 1,700 yards. And so it's like last year, he had 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, and he was 30 years old. So it's like, okay. Now, or he was 29 going into 30. Now he's 31 going into 32. I'm not that worried that Tyreek Hill athletically is over the hill or anything like that. There's obviously like, we're worried that Tua's health, that's always the biggest question mark, but it always has been with Tyreek Hill. And now that you can just get him as like the wide receiver 14, to me is out of control. Like, would you be surprised for a second if Tyreek Hill was the number 1 overall wide receiver this year? And it's just the same Miami thing we've been seeing. Keep in mind, Jonnu Smith is gone, who had 100 catches last year.
Right.
So the context I'll give you on Tyreek Hill, to Craig's point, is there's 2 camps. So this is where having an opinion matters, because you can look at the same season at different opinions. Some people look at last season for Miami and are like, well, Tyreek Hill was worse. And if you look at statistically, he was worse. The argument is, well, the team sucked, Tua was hurt, and Tyreek Hill stopped trying, hence why he wanted to trade.
And Tyreek was hurt.
And Tyreek Hill was hurt. It's literally started with him being detained like very overeager police on the way to week 1. The whole season was a nightmare season, throw it out. And to your point, though, about Tyreek Hill's upside, Greg, I wrote Tyreek Hill's blurb. We have our blurbs at fantasyfootball.theringer.com. And I reminded myself that in 2023, the season you're talking about, Tyreek Hill didn't just have 1,800 yards. He had 1,800 yards, even though the Dolphins had the 3rd fewest passes after halftime that season. So they didn't need to throw. If Tyreek Hill had ran as many routes by yards per route run, Tyreek Hill had ran as many routes in 2023 as Calvin Johnson did in when the year he set the record, Tyreek Hill would have had 3,000 receiving yards. Like I'm going to say, like he literally had 4 yards per route run. Calvin Johnson, when he set the record, was like 2.8. So Tyreek Hill, literally, if they were just middle of the pack after halftime, would have had shattered the first receiver to be the first 2,000-yard receiver. That is the upside that you're talking about, Craig. Literally, he was so beyond a 2,000-yard pace by any other metric. The question is, what happens if the Dolphins... DK, I'm curious what you think. If the Dolphins start 0-4, do you worry about the vibes of this team deteriorating and Tyreek maybe wanting a trade back?
Of course.
And it's like... That's the problem to me, is like, I don't like
that he's a loose cannon. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Man.
It has not been a great offseason. I mean, Tyreek Hill ended last year saying he wanted out of Miami. Him and Tua are publicly fighting every week in practice.
Feuding with the coach in press conferences.
Mike McDaniel's like, why are you...
Man.
Tyreek Hill's like, they should play the bigger backs in goal line. And Mike McDaniel goes up the next day and is like, thanks, Tyreek. Maybe you got that idea from when we practiced with the larger backs at goal line. Maybe
Thanks
is that where
for
you got
telling
the idea?
everyone.
See, I know. That's all fine, but part of me is like, what are they going to... I mean, it's like, they don't have a lot of other options. I guess Tyreek Hill could just quiet quit on the team, sure. But he is going 30th in drafts. You can get
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill in the middle of the third round.
Yeah. So to your point, Craig, Ben Gretsch is a really smart guy who writes a Substack, had a take that basically figuring out the Dolphins one way or the other is the most important thing in fantasy this
100%.
year. Because the idea is if the Dolphins, our old colleague Kevin Clark's at ESPN say the Dolphins are built for 2 years ago. And then the flip side is, well, if the Dolphins get 90% of the way there, 85% of the way there to 2 years ago, Devon Achane should be in the first round and Tyreek Hill should be in the first round. Unquestionably. And the idea
and Waddle should probably be in like the second round.
Yes.
Whoa.
And so,
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's not what I said. So
I didn't say that.
that's not what I said.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think Tyreek Hill is the single best value in the first 3 rounds of drafts this year.
I think that's
Carlos Dolphins fan says Dolphins starting 0-4 would require losing to Jets and Patriots, who they've never lost to in the first 4 weeks of the season.
Well, speaking of the Jets, Tyreek Hill is going 1 spot ahead of Garrett Wilson in drafts. Garrett Wilson has never had more than 1,100 yards or 7 touchdowns in a season.
I've decided that I'm going to enjoy Garrett Wilson's talents from a distance this season.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone in fantasy who's ever
Right.
liked having Garrett Wilson. We should have a list of players that are talented that no one's ever liked having on their team.
There's
Not
no
Kyle Pitts.
scenario in which I'm staring at Garrett Wilson and Tyreek Hill on draft day, and I'm selecting Garrett Wilson.
All right,
There's
so
just
we'll
no
move
fucking
Tyreek
world.
Hill into this. I think one big tier makes sense, though, because the spirit of the tier, I think, is if you walk away with one of these guys as your number 2, you're going to float. But what were you saying, DK?
Well, I was just going to say this is more like a big picture question, I guess. Do you think that the biggest edge in fantasy, and has been maybe for the last 5 years, is just reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated for like older veteran? Like last year was like Mike Evans. He was going really late, over 1,000 yards.
Derrick Henry every year.
Derrick Henry every year.
Yeah.
James Conner every year. It feels like is just
It
one of the
was
best
the year
values.
of the 30-year-old. This is what we discussed last year.
Sometimes I think we backed ass first into the best insight we've ever had in the history of the show, which was all the data about, again, models have people, the underlying metrics and the underlying models spitting out projections have age curves. And I think the best insight we ever had was probably all that data is just outdated. Like all the data on when players tail off is like Le'Veon, even someone like Le'Veon Bell in like 2017, I don't know if he had a portable hyperbaric chamber. Like he didn't have the tracker. He didn't have the, like, even since COVID, like Le'Veon Bell didn't have a chip in his pads where they were like kind of monitoring, like, they weren't weighing his hamstrings and being like, do your legs weigh the same? Like the tracking has come a long way in the health, in the heart monitors, the science, how they got sleep, how they get, like, there's been a lot of stuff, like even just testing their fucking vision.
Also,
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is, I don't know how the data is put together, so maybe this is accounted for in a lot of these studies, but it's like the best players in fantasy are fucking outliers. Like these guys are outliers. It's not like a median outcome type player. They're fucking awesome. And so like
Derrick
a lot
Henry
of them
is
just
like
keep being awesome for a while.
Derrick Henry is basically the LeBron James of running backs.
Right.
Yes. He really is. And to the point,
remember
Adam
the tweet, like, thank God LeBron's whatever age he is, that he can't keep doing this shit forever or whatever.
At 30, and then he won the title
from like 7 years ago.
2018, yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, I agree. And also Adam Harstad had a post for like years ago that was basically receivers decline, but until they decline, they don't decline. Like until you see it. And also injuries beget that. Sometimes they say older, like when you're older, injuries actually create the aging process.
I just think it's really noisy data. It's super noisy data. And so you can't just make a blanket statement. Once you turn 30, this guy's going to fucking fall off a cliff. No, it's once he turns 30, he might fall off a cliff, or he might be the wide receiver too.
Okay, so Tyreek Hill, Craig is passionately saying Tyreek Hill's probably underrated. He's probably right. The other guy I want to say, Craig, turning on his boy Ladd McConkey. I think Ladd's a really good value this year. Do you feel that way, DK? I'm surprised you wanted him in a lower tier because I think Ladd is just as good as.
I mean, I
think he should be included, but I see DK's point about perhaps the ceiling not being as high. I guess.
Why not?
I think he's really good. Here's the deal: last year he was the wide receiver 14 on the year.
He's a rookie.
He had a 29% target rate, which was awesome. But again, this is a lower volume passing offense. So actually, sorry, I was reading the wrong guy. He was actually wide receiver 18, 22% target rate. I mean, these are just not like elite numbers. He had 82 catches, which was 15th. I don't know. I think he's awesome. And I'm not saying that we should drop him down a lot. I just don't think
200 yards in one game in the playoffs.
He doesn't. I just don't think he belongs in the same tier as like AJ Brown and some of these other guys. Malik Nabers.
But because it's a lower passing volume offense, the Eagles had the lowest passes in the NFL. I don't know. I think that
just say it, DK. It's because he's white.
Yeah, I was
And
going
his
to say,
name's
I actually think
McConkey.
Lad McConkey.
I can't put
being
a guy
white
named
is the
Lad
reason.
His
McConkey
name
that
is
high.
Lad McConkey.
His name's
That's
Lad.
why.
No,
I actually
he's
think
awesome.
Lad McConkey.
He's really, really good.
He might as well be named Lad Mahonky to you.
He's
Yeah,
Lad McConkey.
he might as well be.
That's actually incredible. Lad McConkey. Wow, that's how have we never come up with that one before? We made it a year into this guy's career without saying that.
Yeah.
I think Lad is like straight up a better wide receiver than Garrett Wilson. Straight up.
Oh, yeah. It's also Garrett Wilson.
No, on talent, not on production. Like he's a better player.
Yeah, Lad, all of the underlying metrics, like the route running, all of that stuff, him versus man, him versus zone is like incredibly good. Him versus man specifically, which it's always like, oh, the white guys are great at zone. The white guys are great at sitting in these open pockets in zone. Lad is phenomenal against man coverage.
Yeah.
That's why he shredded the Texans in the playoffs. And so I guess just overall,
His name is Andrew, by the way. His middle name is Lad.
I would go by Lad too. but it
A-Bone.
was Andrew. Like Lad is sick.
Lad is
I wish my
sick,
middle
no.
name was Lad. Well, no.
Lad is
But
sick,
so-
but it also like it caps how high I'm willing to put you in the ranks.
I think Lad is. I think if you get Lad this year in the third round, it's purely because he's
Amazing.
white, and you're going to get an incredible player.
How do you guys feel about RJ Harvey's first name actually being Robert?
That's fine because that's a normal
Sure.
one. Can I tell
Robert
you?
Harvey? Do you think if he was going by Bob Harvey, he would be as well?
Well, you know
Bobby.
this is a real thing in Washington, right? Wait, I got to pull up the guy's name because I keep forgetting it. It's Merritt. What's his name?
Luke Merritt.
So Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt in
Oh.
Washington.
Who the hell's Luke Merritt?
No, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
No,
They-
I know. I don't know why
It's
I
a
thought it
bit,
was Luke.
and they just call him Bill. They just call him Ja'Cory Krosky. His name's not
I
Bill.
love
His
that.
middle name's not Bill. It's a bit from when he was a kid. They just called him Bill. And so
I
he
like
just
that.
goes by Bill Merritt. And his name's Ja'Cory.
Oh,
So and now the fans love it. So everyone just calls him Bill Merritt.
This just reminds me of how there's a guy, one of the Skarsgård kids, his name is Bill, which I just find very funny for some reason.
Bill Skarsgård.
I don't know why. It's just like,
Anyone our age named Bill is wild. I just think Bill is wild. And just being 20 and named Bill is funny.
I know,
Okay.
because it's like Will is right there. You could just be Will.
Yeah. I don't know. I know a lot of guys named Will. I don't know. None of them go by Bill anymore.
No, I don't know anybody in their 20s named Bill.
No.
no,
Right?
No offense to the
No, I
people at this company named Bill.
the people. Alexander Skarsgård, Gustav Skarsgård, Walter Skarsgård, Ossian
Walter?
Skarsgård, and Bill.
This is like how Champ Bailey's brother is named Bob or something.
Yeah, totally. Also, I think Bill Skarsgård looks like he looks like Joe Burrow.
Okay. All right. We can't go down the Skarsgård
Doesn't he?
rabbit hole. We have
Look
to
him
move
up.
on.
We also got an
No.
email about a guy who said he named his daughter Margot because of Margot Robbie.
I did. Yeah.
And
I saw
he
that.
and he consistently gets compliments about how pretty of a name it is. And
You
his
also
wife
left
loves
out
it.
how he put in parentheses, please don't tell my wife. Okay. Next tier here. I think this is the tier
Pretty
where
name.
I would define this tier as I'm no longer thrilled if you're my number one,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be really happy if you're my number two. Mike Evans, which maybe that's dumb, but Mike Evans, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, who's on the Seahawks, T. Higgins for the Bengals, Davante Adams for the Rams, Garrett Wilson for the Jets, Terry McLaurin for Washington, Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals. And that maybe alone is controversial because he hasn't done it yet, but I figured fuck it. If you're wondering why McLaurin's here, it's just really simple. It's because Terry McLaurin had by far the most touchdowns of his career, the most in franchise history at 13. But even with that, he only had like 1,000 yards last year for Terry McLaurin. And they added Deebo, and it was all just, you're basically betting that Jaden Daniels is like straight up a top 3 deep ball thrower in the NFL again. And because if Terry McLaurin still has 8 touchdowns, it's still a good year. But like 1,000, so DK, I think Jaxon Smith-Njigba is the most anonymous of all these guys. A lot of these guys are really famous, like Mike Evans, Davante, McLaurin.
Sure.
Like, can you tell us a little about why Jaxon Smith-Njigba should be ranked next to Mike Evans?
I struggle with this one because I'm not really sure he should. You know what I mean? Because I think I worry about his overall upside this year. The Seahawks are going to want to run the ball. Everything they've done over the offseason is, focused on identity of smash mouth football, run the ball. And I think also Jaxon Smith-Njigba benefited dramatically and greatly from the type of offense the Seahawks ran last year, where it was super high pass volume and Geno Smith was hitting him on these little short routes and he would just run after the catch, things like that. I don't know if they're going to do a ton of that this year in terms of the style of offense they want to run, the style of passing game they want to run. I still think he's going to be really good, but I guess what I'm saying is it would not surprise me if Jaxon Smith-Njigba doesn't have 100 catches for 13 or 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns this year. Just, I don't know. It feels like the Seahawks offense is changing so much. And JSN was sort of perfect for the one that they ran last year. And I don't know for sure how he'll look in this one this year.
How do you feel, Craig?
I feel a little bit more confident. I like JSN this year. I think he's the first true Glansberg of the wide receivers, where I don't think he's going to turn any heads when you draft him. I think it's just a combination of like the Seahawks identity, the Darnold unknown, his name. He's just not that famous of a player. He was the first wide receiver taken in kind of a weird year. He was 20th overall. But like he had a true breakout last year on a team with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett playing full seasons. Combined, the two of those guys only missed one game last year. He had 100 catches, 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns. And there's now 182 targets up for grab. Cooper Kupp is in, but DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are gone. The Kubiak offense, I agree with DK. They're going to run the ball more, but like I think JSN has a lot of the skills that work in a Kubiak offense. I also think he has like the ability to be a number 1 overall guy. Matt Harmon, who's like the best at charting wide receivers, said the second half of the year, JSN was the most efficient wide receiver versus man. Basically 5 yards per route run since week 10 versus man coverage, which is a ridiculous number. Whew. And so I think the like play action, in breaking, out breaking routes, that type of stuff that they're going to be running with JSN is different than stuff that Ryan Grubb was doing last year in Seattle. I don't know. I think it's going to work. I think the offense is going to be efficient. There's going to be more openings in the passing game. The defense is going to be really good. They're going to be in a lot of close games. I like Seattle this year in general. I'm really big on like year 2 with these very smart coaches kind of having a second year to implement their system. So I think he's rock solid. I don't know if, I guess, the volume will be there to hit for him to be like a top 5 wide receiver, but I feel confident that he's going to be like the guy and get a ton of targets this year.
So big picture, this group of players, Mike Evans and Njigba, Higgins, Davante, Garrett Wilson, McLaurin, Marvin Harrison. I just hope running backs are here instead. Specifically, the similar tier of running backs, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, Ken Walker, maybe for me less so James Cook and Breece Hall, but like I kind of like those guys better than these receivers. Like I would rather have Chase Brown and Kyron Williams over all these guys. I will take Davante Adams and Evans and Njigba and Higgins over Breece Hall and Ken Walker. But if it's like, I'll take Ken Walker and maybe probably even Breece Hall over Garrett Wilson. I'll take Ken Walker and Breece Hall over like Terry, unfortunately, just because I think Terry would probably be the best season of his career last year. And Marvin, like I'm underwhelmed by some of these guys. I'm excited about Davante just because of the Rams, but Stafford's back is kind of freaking me out. Like, I don't know.
I like Higgins in this group.
Yeah. You like T?
I feel like he's the one guy who, I don't know if inappropriately valued is the wrong, like inappropriate is probably not the right word for it, but it feels like when we look back, at this next, when in December or whatever, when we look back at our rankings, we'll be like, why did we have T Higgins so low? Because last year, literally the wide receiver 4 in points per game, 15 points per game. In games that he and Jamar Chase played, he actually out-targeted Jamar Chase 108 to 107. He wasn't getting as explosive of,
That's a great stat, though.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is just like the offensive environment. It is a pass it to the Italians type of offense where they only kind of focus on those 2 guys. And I saw this stat from Pat Thorman, which definitely checks out and like kind of makes sense in my brain. It is Joe Burrow had almost 2 times as many pass attempts inside the 5-yard line as the next highest quarterback. Joe Burrow loves to do his thing, scan the defense. He feels like he can pick them apart every time. You know what I mean? It's the Joe Burrow offense. It's not like they're running some scheme that just like whatever they feel like is the best scheme. It's like Joe Burrow is running that shit. You know what I mean? And he's going to pass it to Jamar Chase and T Higgins. T Higgins, extremely tall, very lengthy arms, catches everything, has an incredible catch radius. Like him and
best in the league.
Him and Jefferson. Pickens maybe make the most ridiculous catches every week.
Well, Pickens does it out of bounds, but Higgins actually does it in the field of play.
Very fair. Yeah. But I mean, I think there's obviously the chance that sort of that like stat will regress this year and Joe Burrow will they'll just like rush for more touchdowns. That's possible, but I don't know, man. I'm still wanting to just get every piece of this Bengals offense that I can. I feel like Higgins is way lower than he probably should.
So here's my question. if we added Tyreek Hill to that tier we made it one mega tier, basically from Justin Jefferson to Tyreek Hill, which isn't crazy. Should we be adding Mike Evans and T. Higgins into that group, but made Davante too? Because it's like,
maybe.
we just said, why are we banking on the fall off of all these guys? I know Mike Evans got hurt last year. Came back, someone got to 1,000 yards again. In 12 games, how many games did Mike Evans even play? He got to 1,000 yards. Should we be adding Evans? Davante Adams, another elite guy in the best situation he's been in 5 years with McVay and the Stafford and the Rams. And then T. Higgins. Should these guys be there too? And we should worry less about these guys. And the guys we have questions about of like Njigba, where we haven't seen it year over year. Garrett Wilson, where we've never really seen it the way we wanted to. And then Terry McLaurin, where he's had 13 touchdowns in 1 year off deep balls. Should that be the next tier of guys we have like true like reservations about? And we move Mike Evans, Davante,
I don't think we need to move
up
the tiers. No, because then you just have like a massive, massive tier. I still feel like pretty strongly I'd way rather have Drake London than T. Higgins. Even as much as I love T. Higgins.
So these are number twos
receivers.
these are twos we feel great about, basically. Right. Well, Evans is in it too. Should Evans be higher?
Maybe.
No.
We're just cowards? Godwin's hurt. It's going to be Evans and an Puka.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't really know what's going on with Godwin, though. Like, there's still some hope. I was reading it the other day. There's still some hope that he'll play week 1.
He had a second surgery.
It's probably not going to happen, but I don't think he's going to miss the entire year.
He's not going to miss the year, but I'll tell you what happened with Godwin. He's been ranked because the team signed him and everyone interpreted that as
he's fine.
A certain degree of health. And then Chris Godwin, it's been reported by Jenna Lane at ESPN, Chris Godwin had another surgery. And I just don't, that's a tough injury. Dislocated his fucking ankle. Like, what are the odds Chris Godwin comes back and is like incredible? I'm sorry, but it's low for this season. Like, it's just a classic. Like, we shouldn't be taking Chris Godwin at market value. I just think that's like, people are just so weird about injuries sometimes. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, it is, I think it's a fair discussion, but I don't mind these tiers, honestly.
I agree. I think this is right. T. Higgins is the only one. If you wanted to move him up, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right. So tier 3, we're going to lock in as Mike Evans, Jackson Smith-Njigba, T. Higgins, Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Marvin Harrison. Do we even have time to talk about Marvin Harrison right now?
Do you want to get into the Marvin Harrison stuff?
I'm fine. We're putting him there, but like, I actually kind of wish I could move him down because I don't want him.
If Marvin Harrison's on the board, are you taking him above any of those other guys?
Nope. No chance. I'd rather be wrong at him on someone else's team than
he probably doesn't belong in this tier.
I don't want him. It's emotional. It's not reality. I can't handle taking Marvin Harrison and him being bad. That is so much more catastrophic to me than him being good on someone else's team. I don't feel like that's an L.
It's funny because last year we did our lessons of the coming out of the 2025 season, and one of the lessons was just like zag by the dip. And on that episode, we were like, we should probably just draft Marvin Harrison next year because everybody will be out on him.
But is it a dip if Marvin Harrison's going like 38th? Is that a dip?
Slight dip.
It's a dip from last year, but like he's going next to fucking Davante Adams. Is that a dip?
Yeah, he's going 40th.
It is a dip, but I understand.
It's a dip from 19th, but why the fuck was he going 19? That was preposterous.
Yeah.
We got a little over our skis on
that was your point you made on that pod, that you should just buy the dip on people who...
That was right. I don't think when I
Go
said
argue
that...
with yourself, pal.
I don't think I knew when I saw that Marvin Harrison's draft capital would still start with like a 3. I didn't think he'd be going around Chase Brown. Even close. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be going 60th, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, that's worth it.
Fantasy Pros ranking, he's going around James Cook, Kenneth Walker, McLaurin, Kamara, DJ Moore, and Hampton.
Oh, see, Hampton has to be higher, but I guess that's about right. Fine, fuck it, fine. Harrison can stay in this tier.
The vibes have not been great. I feel like Will Johnson. I sent you guys that clip of Will Johnson just throwing him to the ground. I was like, didn't he just add 10 pounds of muscle? What's happening?
I know that's
makes you top heavy, Craig.
Okay, so the next tier here, it's so big, and you guys, if you disagree, please tell me. This tier to me is huge. I have DJ Moore for the Bears, DK Metcalf for the Steelers, Tetairoa McMillan for the Panthers, Jameson Williams for the Lions, George Pickens for the Cowboys, Jaylen Waddle for the Dolphins, Courtland Sutton for the Broncos, Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice for the Chiefs, Calvin Ridley for the Titans, Devonta Smith for the Eagles, Zay Flowers for the Ravens, Travis Hunter for the Jags, and Chris Olave for the Saints.
I think it should be cut off at Sutton, personally.
Sutton. See,
yeah,
that's
I don't really feel like Worthy's in the same stratosphere. Rice, there's just so many question marks with him in terms of health and his suspension. But I just don't like Sutton and Worthy are that to me is the cutoff point.
But you don't think Jaylen Waddle and Xavier Worthy are in the same stratosphere?
No, not really.
Really?
I'm the one who likes Jaylen Waddle. So
Jaylen Waddle has broken 20 points 3 times in 2 years.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Worthy had more points than Waddle last year.
What's that?
Worthy had more points than Waddle.
Yeah, well,
last
Rashee
year.
Rice was out all year, or the second half of the year, or whatever.
Since
I
week
don't know.
3.
He's also going to be out for the first 6 weeks of this year.
I generally don't.
Said what I said.
I generally don't have huge issues with this tier. There's like maybe a player or two I would tweak in it, but generally this is exactly what I have as well.
Here's my overall take from this tier. This tier, I don't want to be drafting at the top of it, but I think that this clarified something for me. And this is we're going to do lessons from fantasy season next week. And one of them I think I wrote down was like, when you draft someone, you're drafting the whole family. You're drafting the whole offense.
Sure.
You're getting the coach, you're getting the quarterback, you're getting the offensive line. And I half joked that I wish that when you say it, you have to say the quarterback and the coach with every receiver. And I look at these teams and I'm like, you know what? If we're going to have 15 guys and they're all vaguely the same and we feel like that we have an idea of all of them, I'm like, just the tiebreaker to me feels so obvious. Give me the offenses I believe in. So I look at this group. Do I believe in the coach, quarterback, offensive situation, whatever? Kansas City with Mahomes and Worthy, absolutely. Do I believe in George Pickens in Dallas, where it's Dak Prescott and they're going to lead the league in pass attempts? Probably. Yeah. Jameson Williams and the Lions, still. Yes, I do. I do still. Sean Payton and Bo Nix to Cortland Sutton, I do. Even Davante Smith, where it's a little more complicated because you're almost betting on an injured A.J. Brown or Goddard for him to really great. But then I look at Chris Olave, who's going to be catching passes from like Spencer Rattler and the Saints in a new offense. I look at the Bears, and this crystallized to me, I'm out on the Bears this year. And that's where I have DJ Moore, I admittedly have at the top of this tier. And I think I decided this week, I'm out on the Bears for 2025. Because I almost think a litmus test I want for receivers is your offense on August 7th still working on being able to motion a tight end across the formation without the snap hitting the guy as he runs? Because if that's what you're focusing on in mid-August, I don't want your team. I don't like that. You know what Caleb Williams is actually working on in August? He's still taking snaps under center. You know what I mean? I just don't want, I read Cortland Cronin at ESPN had a great story this week about the Bears. And this quote just stood out to me. And she's all these details of what they're going over. But this is a quote from Roma Odunze on the record. I know Ben Johnson, the coach of the team. I know Ben's offense isn't just something that you're going to completely have a full understanding of in year one. It's something that takes a little bit of evolving to get there. And I'm like, this isn't going to work in year one. And it maybe 3 months in, it'll be good. But I'm just out on the Bears.
I don't even think that's not a hot take. I think I understand that completely.
Yeah. I mean, I have struggled to see anybody. It's August 7th. We're taping this right now. Be like, you know what? Bears look awesome. I'm in. Things are going great over there. Caleb seems like he's doing great.
I think I just want to pre-buy the dip for next year in Chicago. Everyone's going to be out on Ben Johnson. Everyone's going to want to replace Caleb. And then I will buy all the stock now. I don't see any reason to buy the stock on the Bears now.
The Ben Johnson
Johnson
bump is a real thing right now. And I don't know. I still would definitely draft DJ Moore. Again, if you go back and look at, he's had a 29% target rate over the last 3 or 4 years. He's just going to gobble up targets every single year, regardless of who the quarterback is. They love to use him on screens and manufacture touches. There's talk of him being a running back. We've seen snaps of him as a running back. I know that doesn't really matter, but the point is more just that they're going to manufacture touches for this guy. So I like DJ Moore. But for everybody else, I understand the risk. I understand kind of the apprehension. And I think the Ben Johnson bump is pushing these guys up probably a little bit more than they should. And I'm kind of with you, Heifetz, but at the same time, I do still kind of trust DJ Moore.
I think this category is, if this is the third wide receiver on your team, you're feeling good. If they're the second wide receiver on your team, you're a little nervous.
Right.
The guy I like the most out of this category is Tet McMillan, who is going so late. I mean, he's going 58th in draft. He's going as basically the wide receiver 30. I just think sometimes there's a negative connotation to the argument of someone's got to catch passes in this offense, which that is the situation in Carolina. But I also just think Tet's really, really good.
But he was drafted to be the guy. It's not like someone's going to do it. Tet's Tetairoa, they're it's going to be him.
He was drafted 8th overall, and the track record of top 10 wide receivers they're on average putting up 1,000 yards in their rookie season. And a lot of those players are on complicated offenses where they're not the number one wide receiver or kind of like the quarterback coach situation's a mess. I feel relatively confident that Bryce Young is going to build on a good second half of last year. And year 2 of Dave Canales. I'm big on year 2 seasons with these offensive coordinators. And I just think he's great. I really think he's like a T. Higgins, Mike Evans, who's even better after the catch. And he fits really nicely with like the way Bryce Young throwing down the sidelines, quick slants, all that stuff. I think Ted is going to challenge people for like top 10 in targets this year. And consistently year after year, we underrate rookie wide receivers. And I think McMillan's just not that famous. I think there was a lot of skepticism about whether
he played
or not
Arizona.
Yeah, he played at Arizona. Nobody really knew what they thought of him. Travis Hunter was so sexy and had all this buzz. But I just think Ted is rock solid and could kind of immediately be a star.
The truth of the matter is receivers who don't come from the SEC, or Ohio State, are just like kind of more anonymous. Like they just are.
Yeah. So I even think going to Carolina is another like anonymous team that not a lot of people have thoughts on or really think about. But I think
we don't know if we trust the whole Bryce Young resurgence either. I think is probably part of it.
Just nobody thinks about Carolina.
Yeah,
they're just an afterthought team. And I think Tet's a great pick in this tier. My favorite.
The other one we like Calvin Ridley. I think he's kind of the exception to the two good offenses because I think we all believe Cam Ward actually has a real shot to be impressive as a rookie. And I just think, again, Calvin Ridley is going to be absolutely like force fed to the point where that is everything you need to overcome a rookie who's going to be reckless and just force feeding a receiver is how you overcome maybe a not great offense.
Yeah, he's being priced like Will Levis is his quarterback. He was on a 1,300 yard pace with Will Levis last year. Calvin Ridley.
And DK, isn't it funny to have a thing like that where you're like Calvin Ridley's going to get 30% of the Titans offense and then like side by side with like Zay Flowers in Baltimore where you're like, he's going to get more like a fifth of the Ravens passing game that will be mostly Derrick Henry.
I couldn't be less into Zay Flowers every year.
I was going to say that. I was like, when I was looking at our tiers, I was like, I feel like we've maybe got Zay Flowers too high. It's not that I don't like the talent. I think he's a explosive, elusive, like fun player to watch, but he's kind of sloppy, messy, messes up plays, messes up routes, drops passes, things like that. It's just like kind of like a frustrating player. And I think more than most receivers, I guess you could say this about like the Eagles receivers too, but he gets sort of game scripted out like half the time. You know what I mean? Like if the Ravens get an early lead, which I think they're still going to do a lot of this year, it's like, well, Zay Flowers is fucked. You know what I mean? Like early, it's the first quarter and they're up by 2 touchdowns. You're like, oh God, well, now they're going to run the ball for the rest of the game. It's going to be really slow. Zay Flowers, basically invisible in the red zone for the Ravens last year. He just wasn't a target in the red zone. And I guess that kind of makes sense based on like his body type and everything. But he had a 25% target rate, which was top 10 in the NFL among receivers, but he just never really was utilized in the red zone. And so that really hurt him. He had 74 catches, almost 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, and this is on a team that this is Lamar threw 40 plus touchdowns.
And here's the difference to Zay Flowers. When Davante Smith's in a similar situation, incredible offense, great running game, but you get to the red zone and the red zone for the Eagles is like Jalen Hurts, then Saquon, then AJ Brown. Davante Smith doesn't exist. The difference is if Dallas Goedert gets hurt, Davante Smith's like a top 12 receiver. And that bears out. If AJ Brown is hurt, like Davante Smith is like a top 12 receiver. When if Rashad Bateman or Mark Andrews get hurt, Zay Flowers doesn't fill that role, so the upside isn't really there with him.
Right.
And that's the difference. Is like Davante Smith is actually like elite when someone else is hurt. So I think we should probably have
felt kind of there. Like the least. He felt out of place.
He has no juice. Tier. I mean, you could argue he's the 6th option in the red zone. It's like Lamar running the ball, Derrick Henry running the ball. You have 2 good tight ends that can catch touchdowns. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. Shit, Rashad Bateman caught a lot of touchdowns last year. It's like
they have DeAndre Hopkins now.
They have DeAndre Hopkins now.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, fuck it. Let's move. I'm down to move Zay Flowers down a tier, and then I also have Chris Olave lower than everyone else, just because I don't
want any part of the Saints.
You can't convince me to have Olave's injury history with the Saints. Also,
give me Rashid Shaheed like 4 or 5.
I have Olave out of this tier. He's not in tier.
Olave. The other thing with the Saints, Jalen Hurts quietly, is like a kingmaker. The amount of people who've gotten a coaching job because Jalen Hurts won like enough that they were hired. I'll just say Kellen Moore is respected around. I'm just saying Kellen Moore is fired, got to do the Eagles offense and just got a head coaching job. And I'm not saying anyone could have done that, but like,
going the other way with it, I will say I think there is some reason to have a little bit of interest in the Saints because they play so fast.
You like them.
He does.
No, I'm what I'm doing is being contradictory or whatever. Like
Contrarian.
I don't necessarily like them. However, things I've been hearing
you
lately.
Love them.
You're obsessed
things I've been
with
hearing
Saints.
lately include Kellen Moore was showing the team clips of the Pacers. You guys can tell me more what that means, but basically
the basketball team?
Yeah, the bottom line is like lots of plays, like play fast, all that stuff. I think their offense is going and have his offenses in the past have very frequently been this way.
That kind of gives me the
tons
ick.
of plays, tons of
it gives
passes.
me a huge ick.
Huge ick, showing them the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, that does. Okay.
You know who I have huge doubts about being able to play fast? Spencer Rattler.
Tyler Shuck.
I have more faith in Spencer Rattler than Shuck, to be honest.
That's my issue.
I'm just I'm not necessarily like bullish on them for fantasy. I think Rashid Shaheed is a good pick, like a 4 or 5 rounds later
I agree
than
with that.
Olave. But I'm staying away from Olave for the vast majority because not only is there the concussion risk, but just the offense is probably
again that Ohio State group text between Garrett Wilson, McLaurin, and
God, dude, seriously,
Olave. That must be miserable. Okay. The next tier here, we're moving Zay Flowers down. I think that's right. We have, this tier is also large, but I want to start with Rome Odunze is going very high in drafts. And I just keep thinking, are these guys really a tier below Rome Odunze? And I was like, no, these guys are in the same tier as Rome Odunze. Zay Flowers, Rome Odunze, Jakobi Meyers for the Raiders, Deebo Samuel for Washington, Jerry Jeudy for the Browns, Jaden Reed for the Packers, Jordan Addison for the Vikings, who's suspended 3 games, and a rookie quarterback, Ricky Pearsall for the Niners, Jawan Jennings for the Niners. I moved him back up because his calf injury he might be holding in. Emilko Puka for the Bucks, Matthew Golden for the Packers, Diggs for the Patriots, Khalil Shakir for the Bills, Michael Pittman for the Colts, Darnell Mooney for the Falcons. I know that's a large tier too, but I keep thinking, is Michael Pittman? We've memory hold this. Michael Pittman a year ago was the 35th pick in drafts. Mm-hmm. Is he a tier below Rome Odunze? I'm like, fuck no.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? I you could rank these guys how you want. Even Darnell Mooney with a shoulder injury, Khalil Shakir and the Bills. I'm like, these guys are all, you're kind of dart throwing. I think the Niners are the best bets. And it depends on how you feel about Jennings as his calf, whether his calf injury is. Greg Rosenthal in NFL Daily pointed out that Kyle Shanahan said that, yeah, you got to be delicate with those calves, kind of implying that, well, maybe John Jennings' setback was actually because he wants more money, which I kind of immediately was like, yeah, probably should have figured that out.
That would make sense. I like Odunze. I'm just going to say, I think you're just talking about buying the dip. Buy the dip on a top 10 pick. I don't know.
Is it a dip if he's 20 spots above where he went last year?
We're talking about tier 5 of the receivers. He's very cheap for a top 10 pick, I think.
That's true.
This is the tier of like, start getting the rookies, start getting your Ibukas, your Matthew Goldens. I'm considering Ricky Pearsall kind of a rookie. He's probably my favorite pick out of this round. I just think the Niners are projected for the 3rd most points in the league. They have the easiest schedule in the league. And even last year, with how much of a disaster that season was, it's like, all right, Kittle was a number 1 tight end. Jawan Jennings even was the wide receiver 30. Ricky Pearsall right now is ranked as the wide receiver 42. I mean, Purdy in this offense, when it is humming, is able to keep a lot of guys afloat. 2023, Deebo, top 10 wide receiver. Ayuk, top 15 wide receiver. Kittle, top 5 wide receiver. Deebo's gone. Ayuk's not going to start the season playing. Jawan Jennings has a calf injury. Maybe that's fake or whatnot. Ricky Pearsall has not been healthy for his career. He's healthy right now and he's practicing, and he's going to be the guy on this team for all of training camp.
And if we're being 100% honest,
what?
People need to see a white receiver is good before they believe it. Just being honest. And I think Ricky Pearsall, he's also a weird prospect in Florida because he was old and a transfer. And because he was there with like Ayuk.
Yeah.
And, Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. But I think this is a great call with Pearsall. But to your point,
he's easily the best pick.
He obviously had a lost rookie season. He was shot. He had all these issues.
He was really posting big numbers late in the season, though.
He led the Niners in yards per route run versus man last year, which again,
I agree
that straight up, how good are you against another player? He was the best on the Niners last year.
Pearsall to me is the clear target here. DK, my question to you, because you said you're higher on the Bears than me, I can tell, because I'm kind of getting depressed about the Bears.
That's
fine.
I'm not saying I'm high on the Bears.
You
I'm
love
high
the Saints.
I think
Would you
Rome
rather
Odunze is a
Bears?
highly talented player.
But we have DJ Moore 45th, and we have Odunze 69th. Oh, it's kind of funny. Would you rather have Odunze 69th or DJ Moore 45th?
Probably Odunze, just because I think, the value there I think is there. If he ends up being, and a lot of people are talking about this, and it's a stretch probably, but like the Amon-Ra St. Brown role in this offense where you're just getting peppered with targets run after the catch. If Odunze sort of is that guy instead of DJ Moore or Luther Burden or whoever, Colson Loveland, then I think he's going to be a massive value. Again, he's a top 10 pick, and he fucking had a knee injury last year. So I think we're forgetting how good he is. And
I think sometimes we need to take the horrific rookie seasons and just delete them and be like, this is kind of Caleb and Rome Odunze's rookie season in Chicago. Like, this is kind of the rookie year.
I think if I'm looking at this tier, though, there's a couple guys I really like. I'm with you guys on Pearsall. I think that's a great, flyer at this point. Obviously, it's a super value. He could end up being a top 24 wide receiver. I really like Jakobi Meyers here. I just think he's the forgotten man. He's a Glansberg. No one fucking cares about him because for his first 3 years, he didn't score a touchdown or whatever. But I think he's a really good player, and they're going to funnel passes to him and Bowers, and this offense is going to be better than you think. I really like Jakobi Meyers in this range, and I really like Emeka Egbuka from Tampa Bay. I just think you can't open up Twitter, Blue Sky, without 5 people talking about how fucking awesome Egbuka has looked at camp. Reporters, Baker Mayfield apparently in an interview just brought him up unprompted. He's like, this guy's awesome. And I think, especially with Godwin's status in the early part of the year kind of up in the air, it's going to be Evans, Egbuka, and, to a lesser extent, Jaylen McMillan. But everything I've heard about him and going back to my evaluation for him, I really, really liked him. He's just a professional route runner, really good hands, great blocker. Everything you hear about him, he's a great guy and is just going to, impress the coaches and earn their trust. I really like Egbuka at this spot too. And I think Baker's the type of quarterback that is going to feed guys that he likes. And I think there's some potential for volume there.
Once you get this late in drafts, start taking wide receivers that were drafted in the first round. Hold on to them.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden, Egbuka.
Yeah. Golden too is a good one. Yeah.
We talked before the draft that Egbuka was the really, really, really rare kind of player where nobody thinks he's going to ever be at any point the best player in the league. And yet, if you passed 32 scouting departments, which player in this year's draft is most likely to play like 10 years in the league and be a captain and a winner? Everyone would have picked Egbuka.
Always a bridesmaid,
no one
never
thinks
a bride.
Egbuka will fail.
He's the all-time leading receiver at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He was
but no one thinks he's going to fail. No one's like, barring injury, no one's like, yeah, he's not good enough to play in the NFL. Like, no one thinks that is the downside. Like, and that, which is a really underrated thing. Like, everyone's like, he's the highest floor receiver prospect that doesn't have an elite ceiling that I can remember kind of coming through the draft. Like, usually if you don't have an elite ceiling, people are like, he might not make it. No one thinks Egbuka won't make it. So he went in the first round. Yeah. So the other one I ask you, speaking of receivers in the first round, Matthew Golden for the Packers. I am inadvertently the highest person in fantasy at Matthew Golden, which is not really my plan. I just kind of ranked him and realized.
How did I end up here? Huh?
I literally I didn't realize that I'm just higher on Matt. I think I'm like, 80th pick. Sure. And I kind of looked around thinking he'd be consensus. Some places got him 120th. And I'm like, what the, and I guess it's just a function of, I think when yards per route run gets factored from college into models for rookie year, it's kind of like, oh, well, he wasn't that good. And I'm like, I don't think this accounts for the transfer portal. I don't think this accounts that Matthew Golden switched teams and offenses. The other thing I don't think is being counted, everyone's like, well, the Packers rotate their receivers and like they all play, and like Jaden Reed would play and Christian Watson would play and Dontayvion Wicks would play and Romeo Doubs would play. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't think he's going to play in the entire regular season. And then I'm looking around. I'm like, if Matt LaFleur was so happy with his, I have no number one receivers, we're going to rotate everyone. I don't think the Packers would have drafted a receiver in the first round for the first time in 20 years. Like, clearly, like
LaFleur's not making the picks, though, to be clear.
Yeah, but
I mean, he might have a voice in it. Sure.
But I think he's allowed. I guess here's my question. Maybe I'm wrong. DK,
I think it's an assumption to assume either way. I guess we don't know for sure that this was his pick.
There's doubt. No, that's true. I'm not saying it's just his pick. I guess my question is, do you think the Packers would spend a first round pick on a wide receiver if they don't think he would play in 2 receiver sets?
No, I think he will play in 2 receiver sets. Yeah.
Well, then I think everyone's wrong about what he's being projected for, because I think Matthew Golden's the leading receiver for the Green Bay Packers this year.
Yeah, that's the other thing is the the other receiver people like the most on Green Bay is Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed does not play in 2 wide receiver sets straight up.
Right.
Like he only plays in 3 wide receiver sets. So then it's like Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson's not playing, and Dontavian Wicks. And I think Dontavian Wicks, like we kind of know what he is at this point. And Romeo Doubs is a very solid player. I would say more of a high floor than a high ceiling guy. Yeah, it's like they picked it. When's the last time the Packers picked a wide receiver in the first round?
2002.
Yeah.
I mean, we're overthinking it.
Yeah.
I think we're overthinking
too.
it. This is everyone says for all at the same people who spent 10 years saying in fantasy football for the most underrated asset are receivers drafted in the first round. You have a 50-50 shot of them vastly outperforming the draft slot. Green Bay, with one of the smartest head coaches in the entire NFL, takes a receiver in the first round for the first time in 20 years, and then no one wants him because this guy's numbers are bad. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Matt LaFleur has an idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I understand what you're saying, and I think it's probably the right move to zig while everyone else is zagging or whatever, and like just buy him and believe in it. But I'm just looking at the Packers' distribution of target rates last year. No, none of the receivers were above 17%.
No, I agree. I think that's why his projection.
That's a brutal place to live in fantasy.
That's what I'm saying.
16%. Dontavian Wicks had the highest target rate among receivers on the team. Dontavian Wicks.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's why I think Matthew Golden was drafted. I just think they're sick of. They don't have anyone on third down.
I think yes. To be clear, I think Matthew Golden will lead the team in like receiving, but I'm still worried there's going to be so many other people that it's just going to like really cap its ceiling. But that being said, he's still good value where he is.
I mean, he's going 130th in drafts.
Yeah, I'm not against taking him. I'm just like, this is why people are worried about the Packers.
Right now, we have him ranked. Heifetz and I have him in the late 80s. DK have him in the early 100s. But like in Fantasy Pros rankings, he's 130th. He is going around guys.
So we're above. We're way above.
We're way above. I mean, he's going around guys like Christian Kirk and Jerome Ford and Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman and Matthew Golden. I'm like, to me, it's very clear. Like, yeah. I also kind of like Rashad Bateman, actually. I think Rashad Bateman's Anyway, so that's the tier.
I'm out on Bateman.
Any other? Well, everyone's out this way. You could get Rashad Bateman 150th, honestly, sometimes.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on anyone from this tier?
Mooney's kind of an interesting one.
I'd have Darnell Mooney higher if he has the shoulder injury, so he's not practicing. Darnell Mooney is also like a very easy, like he's probably just the single most anonymous receiver that's actually like totally startable in fantasy football. We'll see what happens with the injury. We need him to come back. Pittman's gross, but I think Pittman's viable. Like
Pittman's a good player.
70 spots is enough to fall. He fell 70 spots. I think you don't have to punish him more. Okay, next tier here. This is where I get really freaked out if I have to play any of these people.
Right.
So my fantasy overall strategy, if you've made it this far into the show, I really would like you to have all of your receivers except one by now. I personally think right around now, when you get to like, let's call it, I think 5 of the top 50 receivers or so. It's a good rule of thumb. Because the next guys, if you have to like play these guys in September, I'm a little squirrely. Chris Godwin for the Bucs, who is ranked here, but really he'll be drafted before because I'm more worried about his injuries and I'm dragging down on rankings. I think Chris Godwin's not going to be here. Hollywood Brown, I'm higher on him than others, but Cooper Kupp for the Seahawks, who might be washed. Josh Downs for the Colts, where it's just a PPR.
Very good player in a
Ponzi scheme.
Really questionable offense. Yeah.
Can I just say, Josh Downs, I feel like this offseason, it was decided that Josh Downs is like Antonio Brown. Everybody is like, Josh Downs is one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's just on a bad team and doesn't get enough targets. But I didn't realize that. I guess when you look under the hood, Josh Downs is like one of the best players in the NFL.
Yeah, he's good, but the same way an indie band kind of just everyone latches on.
People are
like
glowing
he's not
about
going to go
Josh
on tour.
Downs.
Good player.
My sources say Josh Downs, really good player.
Can listen to some shows. Yeah, DK. Yeah.
When I was reading on the internet, my sources.
The podcasts I'm listening to, which are free and available for anybody, they love Josh Downs.
Rashid Shaheed for the Saints, as DK mentioned, I'd rather have Rashid Shaheed 110th than Chris Olave, like 50th. I don't really like that idea. Brandon Ayuk for the Niners. I mean, we should move him down lower. He's here out of respect, but Brandon Ayuk, I think, is going to start the season.
Man.
It
already feels like a lost season for Ayuk.
Yeah. Man. Keon Coleman for the Bills, who Keon Coleman tests my limits of, I know you should probably bet on second-year guys. Like, DK is probably right about Rome Odunze. I'm being dramatic. Rome Odunze is probably a great pick this year. Keon Coleman tests my limits as a Bill of a player that I just saw him play, and he's not good. Keon Coleman was a project coming into the league. He's still a project. The idea was Keon Coleman by year 3 or maybe year 4 would be an NFL player. Keon Coleman's like not an NFL player right now. And he's like epitome of if he was a 5th round pick, he would be maybe not on the team, but he's a 1st round pick, so he's going to play. And I
don't think it's that bad, but I see what you're saying.
Fine. He'd be a depth. He would rotate in at best if he was a 5th round pick. He wouldn't play.
I think he flashed. He flashed last year.
He led the Bills in target share when he played last year.
Yeah. I think you're overall correct in this. I don't think you should take him in fantasy.
Fine,
but
I'm being dramatic.
You're kind of being a little bit dramatic on how he's not a bad player. I think
he can't separate is his
right.
whole thing. Like he literally has trouble getting open, but he's a good
and like the role
catch.
that he plays in this offense is, I think, pretty static because there's a lot of people who thought he might be best inside where he can have a little more space, run after the catch, all that stuff. That was like a big part of his appeal. I think is just like he's a great athlete, big guy. Or like he's like a long striding, he can run away from people, all that.
The money ball like looks great, and like we're not selling jeans here. Like he's a great,
They have Dalton Kincaid, who they took in the 1st round, and Khalil Shakir, who is an awesome slot receiver. And they're not going to put Keon Coleman most of the time in the slot and take Khalil Shakir off the field. So to me, it just like doesn't feel like Keon Coleman's going to make a huge leap this year. I could be wrong about that, but also for the record, I was like way higher on Odunze than Keon Coleman. So there's another. Like,
and they have the Bills also have a 25-year-old juggernaut they acquired this year, also playing outside receiver for them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
competing
Josh
with
Palmer.
Keon Coleman.
I was like,
Palmer,
who's he talking about?
Right.
Josh Palmer.
Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
He's going to come for his lunch. So we have Keon Coleman. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I hate him that much probably just, and also he's the most likable player. He's just the ratio of like internet fame to like on-field production for Keon Coleman and Xavier Legette is just like the biggest in the history of the NFL.
We do this. So this year, Hyvids, we have to make it official every year. Most of your opinions are very smart and great, but we made the joke.
We should have the all Costanza.
Well, every year, the thing that Heifetz is the most passionate about, the thing that Heifetz starts to take personally is always completely wrong. Josh Jacobs avoiding Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase last year. But again, like 80% of the things Heifetz says usually are right. But the number one thing that starts to affect him personally is wrong. So you need to like Heifetz, I want you to build up to it this year and announce what it is in an episode.
Yeah, what do you feel most strongly about? That you're out on
what
the Bears?
Is the thing that has like infected your heart?
Baker Mayfield going 70th is preposterous.
He's gonna be great.
Like it's Baker's gonna win the MVP. We should bet on Baker to win the MVP. Because like the idea that Baker Mayfield should go like 70 spots ahead of CJ Stroud is ridiculous to me.
I agree.
Like that just objectively wrong. And so Baker's gonna win MVP.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on from this tier, I heard Nick Underhill, who does a great job covering the Saints, talking about Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, and there's like times where he's watching them and he can't tell who's better. Like there's days where he thinks Rashid Shaheed is like the best receiver on the team, and then there's of course days that Olave does awesome things. But I just think Rashid Shaheed's such a value where he is. He's coming off an injury, but we've seen it in the past. Like he is so efficient, so explosive. He's one of those guys again who was I think undrafted free agent. People just don't really forget that. You just can't really buy that they're actually good until a really long time where they've proven it kind of deal. And so I just think Rashid Shaheed's really good.
Great call.
And so he's a great value there.
We got Christian Kirk, who I keep forgetting is on the Texans, and I just keep forgetting it. But Christian Kirk's probably a great example of a vet that won't matter that much in the season as a whole, but like Christian Kirk might just quietly be a top 14 receiver by week 5. And you're like, what? But he just is a professional. And Nico Collins is there. Tank Dell's like probably not going to play this season. And the other guys in Houston are like rookies. And you're like, oh, Christian Kirk, probably the number 2 to begin the season. I don't know. Jaden Higgins probably takes that role later. But yeah Kirk is just a
boring.
Adam Thielen, another Blandsburg for Houston. Jaylen McMillan for the Bucks. Higgins. The next tier. Any other guys on the tier you want to talk about?
I think taking Higgins is probably a smart move. I think I saw that he was playing in their 2 receiver sets. He's like a starter for them already.
34th pick in the draft. So that's where that's where like Lad McConkey went. I'm not saying this year's receiver class was anything like last year's receiver class. It certainly wasn't.
But it's the same discussion we're having where I think people are worried about Houston. Last year we were worried about the Chargers running the ball too much, whatever. But Higgins is a highly drafted rookie, high second round, just like I think McConkey was. And then you're attached to a really good quarterback.
That might throw the ball a shit ton. Like the Texans aren't going to be able to run the ball.
Right.
Carlos just texted the group and said that my actual strongest take this year is Anthony Richardson being the best buy low in the history of fantasy football.
No.
So Anthony Richardson's probably going to
buy
retire.
Daniel Jones.
Anthony Richardson, yeah, honestly,
That'd be
watch
ironic.
Daniel Jones just start 17 games and be
Yeah.
a top 6 quarterback. No, because that would be me being half right. Okay. Next tier. I couldn't even separate these guys.
I don't
hope
feel
that
like you have to at this point.
Romeo Dubs for the Packers, Marvin Mims on the Broncos, Trey Harris on the Chargers, Cedric Tillman for the Browns, Quentin Johnson for the Chargers, Jalen Coker for the Panthers. Quentin Johnson should be above Trey Harris, I think, but Coker for the Panthers, Luther Burden on the Bears, Xavier Legette for the
He
Panthers,
stands out.
Wandale, Giants, Josh Palmer, Megatron for Greg. I don't even want to read the rest of these guys. DeAndre Hopkins is on the Ravens now. Like Jack Besh is a rookie for the Raiders. Pop Douglas for the Patriots. Like Kyle Williams for the Patriots. There's all these guys. Like Pat Bryant on the Broncos. And Keenan Allen for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Which maybe we should pop him
We
up
should probably
tier.
move him up a bit. Yeah.
Is there any guy here? We can move Keenan Allen to the tier with Christian Kirk. But DK, is there any guys here that pop up to you?
Luther Burden. Not again. I'm not. This is like you saying not purposely doing. I'm not purposely like touting the Bears. I just
No,
think,
Bears and Saints. Those are your teams this year.
Yeah, right. Accidental touting. I'm trying to see. I guess Palmer has been getting a lot of good buzz in camp.
Hell yeah.
I can't ignore it and especially because Craig loves him. Demario Douglas. If you're in PPR leagues, it's kind of like the Wan'Dale Robinson vein of assets, like where he's probably not going to make any big plays, but he's going to catch a lot of passes and get a lot of targets. I think he could be a flex option for you in off weeks or whatever, in bye weeks. And let's see here. That's about it. Honestly, I don't want any of these guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I want Luther Burden very badly. I think that guy's awesome. I just think if there's any of these guys will become a top 10 wide receiver by the end of the year, I think the only one on this list is Luther Burden, where you're like, holy shit.
Accurate.
This guy is immediately one of the most electric players in the league.
Craig, did you see what number he is?
No, what is it?
87.
Whoa, that's
sexy.
weird. Old school.
Yeah,
That's sexy.
it's very
No, Craig,
weird.
it's not. You know what the problem is? The new receivers are so young; they don't remember receivers who wore the 80s, so they think they were inventing it. Like the same way, like Odell Beckham was like the first receiver to go to the teens,
Yeah.
and then they all started doing it. They don't remember when all the receivers were 80s, so it's like retro to them. It's like
Weren't
throwback.
they growing up when like Dez Bryant was wearing 88 though and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
but he was the last one.
Yeah.
the
It
Cowboys
makes
do
him
that.
look fat and slow.
Oh, good. Lower the value.
I'm just saying 87 is a rough number.
Fat and slow.
It looks like a tight. You look like a tight end.
Noah
now.
Fant.
Travis
That's why
Kelce's
T.
87,
Higgins.
right?
That's why you always, when you watch the Bengals, you think T. Higgins is a tight end because he's the last great receiver who wears 80 anything.
Yeah, Travis Kelce's 87.
Yeah. I love it. That's sick. Luther Burden, I just think is like easily one of the most.
Luther Burden's going to be a problem. He's going to be a burden.
Gonna be a problem.
It's going to be a burden.
He might be more of like a dynasty selection.
It's
Yeah.
actually
It's going to
really
be a
funny.
burden.
He's gonna be a burden.
Yeah. We even mentioned Darius Slayton, which is funny because he's probably deserves it. But honestly,
Should we?
no. Craig's right. Like at this point, you should be being like, where is Puka Nacua? Like it doesn't matter if
100%.
one of these guys are like playable or whatever. It's like there's a lot of playable receivers on a weekly basis. Which one of these guys could destroy leagues? Luther Burden's on there. Marvin Mims, if he played more. Marvin Mims per snap is worth, but he doesn't play that much.
No.
Marvin Mims,
Yeah.
I will just say, I will hoover up Marvin Mims off the waiver wire.
I
if
like
Marvin
Pat
Mims
Bryant.
is suddenly starting.
Little
Pat-
bit of me likes Pat Bryant. Just want to
Yeah.
say it.
I
The
can
Broncos,
see that. A little bit of me like Cedric Tillman here.
Do you know Ted Lasso with the gag reflex? He's like,
I love it,
just think
DK's
of when he tries to drink the tea and he just
Yeah,
spits
yeah.
it all over everybody.
DK recommending Saints and Bears or
Browns.
Saints and Browns number 2 wide receivers. I love it.
We're in tier 7.
No, I know.
Actually, I think it's mislabeled. This is tier 8.
yeah,
This
I've
is-
said 2 tier 4s.
This tier is when like half the draft is like half your friends have already left and they're on
yeah, it's
autograph.
autograph.
Totally.
They're just hammered scrambling their phones, scrolling their phones.
This is when like most of your friends are like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're listening to the show. You're so ahead of everyone just because we just said all these names, and most
It's
people
like
are like,
Ezekiel Elliott gets drafted.
most of your friends are kind
Amari
of like,
Cooper.
Zeke's still out there?
we're like reminding you of DeAndre Hopkins at Baltimore. I think most people show up to the draft login and are like, Davante's on the Rams,
They're like, who is Jaylen Coker?
dude. Yeah, his name's Coker.
The cokeheads.
I hardly know her. Okay. All right. Any other receiver thoughts before we go to a couple emails? Any other receivers? My thing is just like, I think you want, as a loose guide, not a hard, fast rule. I think half of your first 10 picks should be receivers, and you'll probably don't hard and fast rule, but like keep that in mind as you're rolling. because the cliff is kind of like, it comes really faster than you. Oh, well, fuck.
Oh,
cut that. God damn it. Fuck.
I feel like sometimes
normalize it, Heifetz.
You just pulled an astronomer CEO there, where I think if you just played that cool, it would have been fine.
If I said it comes faster than you think, you guys wouldn't have left on that?
I just think if you blew right through that.
I would have thought it and then not said anything.
It reminds me. Yeah.
You just astronomer CEO'd that thing.
I pulled back, so then everyone was like, yeah. If you just kept plowing through,
If you just played that cool, act natural.
Any other receiver thoughts? Mine's like just take a lot in the first 120 picks and then take one at most after that.
I just want to be one of those teams this year that has like 2 or 3 fucking awesome wide receivers. That just sounds great.
It's the fantasy version of taking smelling salts, right? Plugging them into your lineup.
Well, to your point, if it's an auction draft, if you can just get 2 of the top 12 guys and you're like, if you're able to be like, I got Jamar Chase, maybe this is a little unrealistic, but if you just, man, imagine for a second if you actually got Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas, and Drake London. Because, if Drake London falls to the 3rd round, if Lad McConkey falls to the 3rd round, and you're like, like Lad McConkey could be in your flex. That's a real thing.
We didn't talk about Drake London, but real quick, just to add on, Drake London, man, he could go off this year. I remember we used to make fun of him. He might be the wide receiver 1 overall.
Well,
we haven't talked about Drake London, but like Drake London, man.
No, I agree. Drake
London. I agree. Sick. Michael Penix might be Jameis Winston 2.0.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Drake London was the wide receiver 1 when Penix started.
Yeah. I'm in on the
it.
Falcons offense. I'm in on Penix.
Okay. You guys want to do a couple emails?
Let's do it.
Sure.
This is from Andrew.
A-Bone.
Andy.
Drewski.
Gentlemen, I have a low stakes conspiracy theory that is insanely specific, but I'm convinced of.
Love these.
So he lives near the Turtleback Zoo in Essex County, New Jersey. Okay. And the context is it's a really insanely impressive zoo for a local county zoo. They have a lot of really crazy animals. And he says the Turtleback Zoo claims to have a 20-year-old black bear named Jelly. He says, I signed up as a member of the zoo.
I know where this is going.
He says, I signed up as a member of the zoo.
We've never seen him.
There's no bear.
He's sleeping.
He says,
claims to have a bear.
He says, I have unlimited access to the world in my backyard as a member of the zoo because my son loves to see the animals. So we go to the zoo 2 or 3 times a month for a couple of years now. And tucked away in the back corner of the zoo, past the cheetah and Labrador Retriever exhibit. Well, yes, Nandi the cheetah has a therapy dog named Bowie. And
Labrador Retriever exhibit?
No, the cheetah has a friend who's a Labrador Retriever.
Oh, I've seen this.
The cheetah and the Labrador are best friends.
They had a bunch of dogs in the zoo, and I was like, what's up?
So there's a large wooded enclosure for the black bear with an electrified fence, multiple viewing spots. Not once in 3 years of going to this visit have we ever seen the bear.
That bear ain't real.
No, it's just like your old neighbor that you only see once a year.
This is
come out.
It's just marketing ploy by the zoo.
No matter the time of year, no matter the time of day.
Wizard of Oz. We've got a bear.
He says they don't even have a feeding schedule posted like they do for almost all the other animals. And I've asked multiple docents at the zoo if they've ever seen jelly. Is that people at museums? Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
I've never said that word.
I've never heard that word in my life.
Like a museum, like docent?
No, I
don't. Like the volunteers. It's like people retire and they're like, oh, I'm going to volunteer at the zoo. Or volunteer at a museum.
How do you spell that word?
Docent, like a docent.
No, I've never heard that word.
No.
It's like museums have them. I didn't know zoos have docents. But
Nope.
Okay. Volunteers at the zoo. Fucking A.
No, it's not your fault.
Multiple volunteers at the zoo.
No, it's not a word.
Volunteers. That's better.
Employees. Fuck.
Okay. I know what that word means. All right.
Zoo workers. I didn't write the email. I didn't write this.
My low stakes conspiracy is that docent's not a real word.
He made that up. He's like Shakespeare. He's slipping in new words.
I have a theory about this bear. Continue.
The bear died.
Want to give you theory now?
The heart to
think the bear died? Okay. So multiple employees at the zoo.
And they didn't want to get in trouble.
The bear definitely died like 4 years ago, and they just don't want to tell anybody.
I've asked multiple employees at the zoo if they've ever seen Jelly. The answer is always like, oh, yeah. Or like, he's shy. So he says, in May of this year, there was a report that Jelly had actually escaped her enclosure because one of the gates was open. It was reported within 5 minutes she was found and returned to her enclosure. However, this happened before the park opened. She never accessed the public area.
She goes to a different school, though.
Exactly. She's in Canada.
You don't know her.
No news articles or press releases about the escape have any photos of the bear. I believe this article is a deep zoo conspiracy to hide the fact that he thinks beloved Jelly's no longer with us. On top of this, in the summer of 2024, there was a bear loose in the same South Mountain Reservation Park in which the zoo resides. And in June, the police had to kill the bear when it attempted to attack a woman.
We can't be getting all kinds of negative press about our escaped bear.
No. Why? A-Bone writes, is it possible that Jelly escaped from the zoo? The zoo does not want to be liable for the escape and almost murder of this woman by the bear. So the ruse that the bear still lives at the zoo.
It's still there.
This is so good. It goes all the way to the top.
I believe this 100%.
This is so good.
I believe this at Aaron Rodgers levels.
He attached all the news articles.
This is nanobots in the vaccine level conspiracy, and I'm 100% in on it.
I am going to post on Blue Sky, and I'll put on Instagram story if I'm old enough I can figure out how to put links on Instagram stories. He sent all the links to Jelly escaping the zoo.
This guy's got like a map up on his a bulletin board at his house with like lines attaching the other ones. He's like putting it all together.
There is no zoo. There is no bear at the zoo. There's no way.
No way.
We got to fucking go to the zoo. How far away is the zoo from New York? We're going to New York in a couple weeks.
Great call.
Where it's in Jersey.
What's it called?
Zoo. We should contact them and be like, "Hey, we're going to be in New York in a couple weeks for a live show. Can we see the bear?" And
send me a picture of the bear with a newspaper of today's date.
Bear proof of life.
I need with a magazine of today's date.
Of life. How long? Essex County Turtleback Zoo
it's not
from
that
the
far.
Gramercy Theater.
Dude, it's less than an hour.
Oh my God, it's an hour! Dude, let's go to this zoo!
I want to do this. I need to get a glimpse of these warlocks.
There's no... Yeah, this is unbelievable. If anyone can shed any light on whether this zoo is covering up
if you've seen the bear in the last 2 years, how long does he think the bear's been gone?
He says he hasn't seen the bear in a couple, 2 or 3 years.
Come out, you dumb panda. You're making me look stupid.
You big panda jerk.
Panda watch.
Panda watch. We're going to do a real life watch.
Panda watch. We're doing it. Okay, yeah.
That is a really great low stakes conspiracy.
Email.
That's like the best one I've ever heard.
Shout out Andrew. Incredible email.
they pretend the bear's still there.
Yeah. I think that's all we got. Please email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you have more low stakes conspiracy theories. They got to be on that level. That's incredible. That's unbelievable.
That's the new bar. That's the new bar right there.
If you can shed any light on whether the Essex County Zoo has this bear or not, please contact us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com because it goes all the way to the top. Email us.
Dark web.
The
deep state.
Deep state. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Ronick. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Fantasyfootball.theringer.com for our rankings if you want to see these receiver ranks. And Instagram, TikTok, Ringer Fantasy Football. YouTube, follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, please, Ringer Fantasy Football.
We hit 10K subscribers on YouTube. Thank you all. We did it. But we're not stopping there. We want 10 million.
We want 100K.
I want 10 million.
10 million, yeah.
So help us get to 10 million subscribers.
Should we take away the intro music again? Bring it back. Thank you, Lord.
Lord.
Thank you, Blur.
Who?
Remember Blur? Who?
No. Who's Blur?
Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a 1 second song. That's a wow. That's a real immediate.
That's like that's the smelling salts of songs.
This song is like
that'll get you going.
It's kind of a car commercial song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like someone's like fucking when they hit the woohoo part, the car comes out of the side.
New Mazda CX-50 hybrid.
Craig, we're Hyundai. Craig, come on now.
Right, Hyundai presenting sponsor.
How dare you?
I hate Mazda. I love Hyundai.
Bleep the other play. Bleep the name of the other car you just said. Come on, it's preposterous.
I definitely don't drive a Mazda.
No,
I love Hyundai.
Bleep all that. I felt old. The first time I truly felt old was when I recognized the music in like a car commercial for a brand I won't name, but they played like Louis the Child. I was like, oh, I like this song. And I was like, oh no.
I feel like, is there a Spotify playlist out there for car commercial songs? Because that's a very specific brand of song. You know it when you hear it, you know?
Yeah.
There's one car commercial I remember very vividly, although I don't remember what brand it was, but it was probably the 90s, and it was the Bon Jovi version, I think, of You Really Got Me. Girl, you really
oh my God,
got
wait, there
me.
is a playlist for car commercials.
And it's like it's like Ken and Barbie, and Ken gets into the I don't know what it was. And it's like that old Kink song, and it's fucking badass.
Oh, dude, I got it right here. All day and all the night.
Oh, maybe it wasn't.
Dude, there is a public
maybe
playlist.
It wasn't You Really Got Me. Whatever.
There's a public playlist on Spotify by Sophia Maria. Songs and car commercials. Number 7 on the list, Blur.
Yeah. You fucking called
great
it, Craig.
call.
It feels like it.
Blitzkrieg Bop,
there was also
Jerk It Out.
There was a car commercial and the song on the commercial was that one by Fun, you know?
Oh, yeah. We
Tonight.
Are
It
Young.
was like Subaru. Yeah. Maybe it was Subaru, and there was like the rally cars or something.
But for just to be clear, we hate Subaru.
Yeah, no, they're awful.
Just bleep out all the fucking
horrific.
No, keep them because we hate them.
Yeah,
we love Hyundai.
No, Hyundai. It's all about Hyundai.
Don't drive a Subaru.
If you're driving a Subaru right now,
Hyundais.
Get out of the car and find
drive to a Hyundai.
Yeah,
get a Hyundai.
Leave your car
instead.
there. Yeah.
Hyundai's my sources. They love Hyundai. Yards per route run, all the underlying metrics are great for Hyundai.
Remember when we did a whole podcast on Craig's sources?
Yeah. For the NFL draft?
Yeah.
You know what? I think I got 29 out of 32.
Meanwhile, we
Craig's
did
listening to some
Craig's
pods.
mock draft on the Wednesday for the draft. If Craig had entered that in there's like an expert contest, Craig literally would have won the fucking thing. We
Craig's
didn't even enter
really
it.
good sources.
Is that right?
Craig would have won.
Are you being serious?
Didn't you got 29 or 30 for sure of the players?
29 or 30 correct, yes.
Yeah, that would have won.
I have great sources.
He does.
It's
the
all
free
out
content
there.
available.
You just gotta grab it. You know?
Yeah. It's about
you just gotta know where to find
through
it. Yeah, I'm out there in the trenches. I'm in the muck, sifting through the garbage, finding the gems.
Digging in crates.
Yeah.
You know?
Pallets.
Docents.
Docents.
Fake word.
We don't accept that as a word.
No.
Goodbye, everyone.